Over the past couple of weeks, I felt like I'm living on an emotional roller coaster. I had a couple of tornado watches last night, and I feel like a tightly wound spring. If that spring is to pop, I'm not sure how those emotions would be released. Maybe as tears, maybe as anger and lashing out, or maybe just a big wave of feeling overwhelmed. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that I'm not the only one feeling like that right now. So I wrote this sequence with that in mind, a way that we can safely release those emotions and feel more grounded and also lift our hearts and fill them with hope. So let's get started. We're going to start in child's pose, the ultimate pose of surrender or rest. Our big toes are touching, and the knees can be either together or they can be apart to make room for breast and belly, or maybe you want just a little more stretch through the inner thigh. So we walk those hands out in front of us. If the forehead doesn't come to the mat, you can add a blanket there. If you feel too much pressure on the knees, you can roll the blanket and add it behind the knees here, and that can help. So go ahead and come into child's pose. Taking a moment here to close your eyes and start to connect with your breath. And walking your hands over to the right side, sitting back through that left hip, opening up that side body. Take one more breath here, and then walk those hands over to the left side, sitting back through that right hip, opening up the side body. And then when you're ready, walking those hands back to center. We'll come up onto the fingertips. Take the arms a little bit wider, now like a Y from the body. And we're going to walk those hands out, let the hips come up, and come into puppy pose or heart melter pose. So the forehead goes towards the mat, and the heart melts towards the floor. And then when you're ready, letting that C come back towards the heels, and then pushing yourself up to Thunderbolt, where you're sitting on the heels. If this isn't a comfortable position for you, then you can always come into easy seat, where your legs are just crisscross. We're going to start with some neck rolls here, so we drop the right ear towards the right shoulder, chin towards the chest, and around to the other side, straight across. Taking your time here to relieve any tension you might be holding in your neck. Let's do one more in this direction. And then we switch sides. And last one here. Coming back to center. Let's roll the shoulders up by the ears and back. And then switching directions when you're ready. Rolling the shoulders forward. And then when you feel ready, finding stillness here. We'll inhale, arms open up wide to the side, stretching that chest. And as we exhale, we make a circle with the arms like we're hugging a beach ball. Inhale, open the chest. Exhale, create space in the upper back. Inhale, lifting the heart. Exhale, hug that beach ball. One more time, just like this. Very nice. We'll inhale those arms up. Exhale, the right hand comes to the floor. Left hand stretches up at an angle, side bend. And inhale the arms back up. Exhale, left hand to the floor, right hand stretches, side bend. So where you put your gaze here is totally up to you. If you want a more grounding practice, you can turn and look at the floor. If you want more energy and inspiration, you can turn and look up at your hand. Or anywhere in between. Arms come up. And exhale, hands to heart, to the floor. From child's pose, we'll come up into all fours or tabletop. If you want a little bit more padding under the knees, just add the blanket there. That can really help. So we're going to have the wrists directly underneath the shoulders and have the hips and the knees in line. We're going to take the right hand out and left leg comes behind us. So tabletop balance here. The belly is folded nice and tight. The neck is in line with the spine, and the leg that's extended behind us is not up here, but either right in line with the hip or can be lower. You can stay right here, or if you'd like a little more challenge, take the arm out to the side a little, leg out to the opposite side, like half of an X. And then we'll bring it back into a straight line. We'll take the hand to the mat, but bring that foot forward in between the hands. And from here, we'll come into low lunge. So we're really gonna watch that the knee doesn't come over the toes as we bring the arms up. We really feel a strength and a connection through the foot and this front leg. And we feel a nice stretch in the hip flexor of the back leg. So our fingertips are stretching up towards the ceiling, but we don't want the ears and the shoulders right beside each other. We want to relax the shoulders down into their pockets. And on your next exhale, let's bring those hands down to either side of the foot. You may want to have a block on the inside of the foot for this next pose. We're going to leave that right hand beside the foot and we're going to twist open. On your next exhale, we'll drop that hand back down, maybe switching the block to the other side. And we're going to twist open. So now we have the left hand on the outside of the left foot. And on your next exhale, bring that hand down. Regrounding, making any adjustments here before coming into low lunge again. We'll inhale those arms up. And we'll exhale, this time bringing the hands into goalpost. So we're sending that heart forward. Shoulders are away from the ears, shoulder blades are squeezing together. One more breath. And then exhale those hands to either side of the front foot. We're going to shift that seat back to stretch the hamstring, maybe letting those toes come up. So we want to keep the heart forward for this. If that's easier to do, having blocks on either side or books, go ahead and grab those. We just want a nice stretch through the hamstring here. Shifting forward just so we can come back into tabletop pose. We'll bring that same leg behind us one more time. Opposite arm comes forward. You can stay in tabletop balance, or if you want a little bit more of a challenge, bend that leg, reaching back. Just an additional quad stretch here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and release it all the way down. We'll switch sides. So this time we're taking the left arm out, right leg back. Belly's pulled in tight to the spine, gaze is at the floor. Leg is in line with the hip or lower. If this is too challenging, you can always choose one or the other, just the leg or just the arm. Option to stay here or challenge yourself a little bit, opening the arm out to the side, leg out to the side. Coming back to center, hand releases to the floor. Foot steps up in between the hands. Low lunge on this side. We bring those arms up. Feeling that connection to the mat through the front foot. Creating length in that torso without letting the shoulders rise up by the ears. On your next exhale, bringing hands to the mat. Leaving the left hand on the inside of the foot, twisting open. Exhale that hand down. Twisting the other way. Exhale down. Any adjustments to feel safe and steady. And then when you're ready, coming up into low lunge, this time option to take the hands behind the back, clasping the fingers, and opening the chest. And then releasing the fingers, hands coming back to the floor, shifting that seat back, stretching the hamstring. Again, trying to keep that chest lifted and the back somewhat flat. Just so we increase that stretch through the hamstring. And then shifting forward so that we can come back into tabletop. And then taking that leg behind us one more time. Arm comes up. Option to stay in tabletop balance here for a few breaths, or bend that knee and reaching back. And then when you're ready, releasing it, and exhale, lower it down. From here, we'll tuck those toes, push the mat away with our hands, hips go up and back into our first down dog. So here we take any movement that feels good to the body. Either walking out the dog by bending one knee and sending the opposite heel towards the mat, or maybe dropping the hips to one side or the other. And then when you're ready, we'll take that right leg up to the sky, three-legged down dog, really pushing the mat away here. Hips square to the mat. We'll bend that knee and roll those hips open now, coming into scorpion dog. If this is too challenging, you can come onto your knees. Coming back to three-legged down dog. And now bringing that right knee towards the right hand to come into pigeon. So we'll stay upright in pigeon for just a few breaths. If you find that you're rolling out to the side, go ahead and add a blanket or a block underneath that hip. If you feel too much pressure on the knee, then just bring that foot in closer to the groin. Take a big breath in here to lengthen the spine, and then exhale, walking those hands out to come into sleeping pigeon. Forehead can rest on a blanket or a block or the hands. So while you're resting in sleeping pigeon, I'll give you a couple of options for pigeon for those who don't like this pose. So the first option would be keeping that right leg bent, just like we would in pigeon, but instead of the back leg being extended behind us, we bring it up into like a Z. So sometimes you hear this called Z pose. I think of it as middle school cheerleader pose from the 90s. So you can stay right here, or you can come into reclining figure four. Both of these will give you a similar stretch to what we're doing in pigeon. So if you're in pigeon, go ahead and give it 2 more big breaths here. And then slowly walking up and very carefully coming into down dog, taking your time to get there. Any movement here, and just checking in for a moment how one leg feels compared to the other. Let's take that left leg up to the sky. I'll show the option on the knees for this round. We'll bend that knee, roll the hips open to the side, scorpion dog. And coming back to three-legged down dog, where we bring that knee forward towards the wrist to come into pigeon, or Z pose, or reclining figure four on this side. We spend a couple of breaths upright on the fingertip spine is nice and tall, adding any props or adjustments here. We want the pose to work for us, not the other way around. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale, walking those hands forward, coming into sleeping pigeon. When you feel ready, finding your way out of pigeon, carefully coming back into down dog or into all fours. And just taking a moment here. So everyone finding their way to all fours, tabletop position. We're gonna take the left knee behind the right, knees stay together, and the feet walk apart from each other. And we carefully lower the seat and find ourselves in shoelace pose. So if this doesn't look like that's gonna feel good on your knees, that's okay. You can just come into a nice, easy seat, or you can take a block and prop that seat up and just give yourself a little bit more room. So either way, we're gonna take those arms up and we're gonna take the right arm behind us like a tricep stretch, and the left will come down and reach for the fingertips. So it's important here that our head's not jutting forward like a little turtle. We want to keep that ear in line with the shoulders. And if that means coming out of the stretch a little bit, then that's okay. Release the arms. Walk those hands in front of us, just enough to where you feel a stretch right through that hip. So we want to feel a nice slow spread of that stretch over the entire muscle, not just a sharp stretch or pain in one part of the muscle. That's not ever a good thing. And walk those hands back up. We'll just switch the leg that's on top. So even if you're in easy seat, just go ahead and switch the leg that you have in front. We'll take those arms up. Left arm bends this time. Right arm comes down and around. I'm reaching for the fingertips. I'm checking in that my head's not jutting forward. And release the arms, walking those hands in front of us. Nice stretch. And then walking those hands back up. We'll straighten the legs so that they come out in front of us in staff pose. So if you have tight hamstrings or any issues, discomfort with the low back, I encourage you to place a blanket underneath the sits bones just to kind of lift you up and tip you forward. So we have a nice tall spine here, making like a right angle with the body. The feet are flexed. We'll inhale those arms up, lengthening that spine, and exhale, pulling the belly button in as we reach the forehead towards the toes. And then as we exhale again, we just let that back round. Just surrendering into this forward fold. And then walking those hands back. We're going to come to lie on the belly. We're going to bring the elbows directly underneath the shoulders. The arms are parallel. We're on the forearms. And we're up in Sphinx pose. So if this is too much pressure on the pelvis, go ahead and add a blanket underneath, just like we did under the knees at the beginning of the practice. We're going to add a little neck stretch here, so we'll drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. Inhale back up to center. Exhale, other side. If it feels like too much in the low back, go ahead and just walk the elbows out a little bit. That'll take some of the pressure out of the low back. And bringing the head back to center. We're going to glance over the right shoulder. And back forward. Glance over the left shoulder. And forwards. Then making a little pillow with our hands, we'll bring our forehead down, resting it on the hands, just taking a small break here. When you feel ready, bring the arms along beside you. From here, we're moving into locust. You can always lift only the top part of your body or only the bottom part of your body if you want a variation of locust. Otherwise, on the inhale, we'll lift everything up. Feeling our bodies rock with our breath. Exhale, lowering it all the way down. You can turn one cheek to the mat, or you can bring the hands back to create a pillow for the forehead. We'll do one more round of locust, and you can stay exactly where you were for the first round, or you can bring the arms out in front of you. On your next inhale, let's lift up. And this time we'll add just a little squeeze for the shoulder blades. If this feels more than what you want to do today, that's okay. Just go back to regular locust. And on your next exhale, go ahead and lower it down. If you turned a cheek on the mat, turn the other cheek on the mat this time. Now everybody turn to the right cheek is on the mat and the arms come out to goalpost. We bend the right knee. Just let it wave back and forth a few times. And then we're going to let that knee slide along the floor to come into half frog, or what I call a chalk outline. So imagine that your hip bones are pressing towards the floor, melting into the floor, feeling supported. When you're ready, letting that leg straighten beside the other. Turning the opposite cheek on the mat. I'm going to keep mine turned this way so you can hear me. Bending the left knee. Letting it wave back and forth a few times. And then when you're ready, letting it slide across the floor. Chalk outline on this side. The more you relax into the floor, the more you feel supported by the floor. And then we straighten that leg. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. And we push ourselves back to child's pose. So resting here in child's pose, just gently close your eyes. And check in with your body, noticing how it feels now compared to when you started the practice. And any weight that you feel like you're still carrying at the end of this practice, I want you to visualize yourself taking it off of your back and setting it down beside your mat. So whatever it is that's weighing you down, maybe fear, worry, maybe frustration, anger, disappointment, depression, feeling overwhelmed, whatever that is that's still weighing on you, imagine yourself taking it off of your back and placing it on the mat beside you. And any emotions that come up through this, don't try to push those away. Watch as they come up, acknowledge them, and then see yourself taking them off of your back and letting them slide to the floor on the mat beside you. Feel free to stay here as long as you'd like, or you can find your way into our final pose for Shavasana. Usually lying flat on the back, letting the feet fall away from each other, arms resting beside you, palms turned up and away from the body. And moving the shoulders down the back. And I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for as long as feels good, so you can absorb this practice. And I'll leave you with a final thought, something I've come back to many, many times in the past few weeks. This too shall pass. Namaste.